Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. Hello, hello. Happy Monday to you all. If you're tuning into office hours for the first time, my name is Nicholas, and I am helping World Quant University with this course in data science. How is everybody doing? I already see some familiar faces here in the chat. I see that. Nigeria is in the house. Kenya is in the house. I see someone from Saigon. Ekamini is asking me, how was my weekend? My weekend was very good. So glad to see everyone. How about everyone else? How were your weekends? I see Saud is struggling with a bad flu. I'm sorry to hear that. Haram. And Kingsley said they had a very busy weekend with mini projects. That's great. And Paul is saying that they celebrated Heroes Day yesterday and today. Paul, what is Heroes Day? I've never heard of that. Educate me. I want to understand. Apurva is saying it's really hard to keep up with the course. Does anyone have any advice for Purva about how to keep up with the course? I see Uday went to the beach with the family. Oh, that sounds so nice. I'm so jealous. Sounds beautiful. Okay. I see Paul is explaining to me what Heroes Day is in Kenya, and it's for people who fought for independence in Kenya from Britain. I see. Well, happy Heroes Day. I hope it was a wonderful celebration. And thank you for the history lesson. So let's think about what we're going to be doing today in terms of our different projects. Here I am I'm on the wrong server here. Is this also wrong? This is all the wrong server. I'm going to start up my new server. Good. All right. So what are you guys interested in discussing today? I know that today we have let's see here. We're going to be working on the PW Mini project, so we should definitely keep working on the PW Mini project. Okay. And other other things that people are interested in discussing today? So people are interested in NumPy. We can definitely talk about NumPy since we're now moving to NumPy here in the class. This is NumPy a week. Is there any particular part of NumPy people are interested in? And matplotlib, sure. I mean, matplotlib is a very big, matplotlib is like a whole class in and of itself, but we can definitely talk a little bit about it. So I think what I'm going to do is I see Sumaya is here from Libya, welcome. I'm going to go to the data course, and I'm going to go to, I believe it's Python and mini projects. Nope, excuse me, I was wrong. It's data wrangling, mini projects, DW. Oh, excuse me, no, it's PW. Excuse me for the confusion. And I see Brian has a question. Brian has a question about retrieving the correct grader cell. Brian, can you explain a little more what you mean? Also, I see Anthony is interested in reading data from compressed data files. If you're interested in that, Anthony, I suggest you look at our office hours from last Thursday, so office hour 12. There we discussed how to read data from a compressed file. So I've just reset my notebook, and I'm going to run the first two cells. Always remember to import grader. I'm also going to load the data. This is going to take a second because it's such a big file. And I see Uday has a great question about debugging. I love that idea. How do you debug a Jupyter cell? All right, so we're here dealing with our NHS, National Health Service in Britain, and we have our practices, and we also have the different scripts. And the first thing that we were able to do was to come up with a way of creating summary statistics. And we were able to get our good grader score. I see, Brian. I see what your problem is, and don't worry, I will address it. I'll be sure to address it at the end of office hours. But I will make sure to get to it. Okay, so we already talked a little bit about, let me see where I am. So let's start on question 2. I'm going to start on question 2, And so I'll go through this systematically. So for those of you that are just joining us, we did question 1 last week, and now we're going to move on to question 2. And in this particular case, we were interested to see how many of each particular drug, how many items of each particular drug were prescribed. And so what we want to do is we want to calculate the total number prescribed for each BNF name, and then we wanted to see what is the most commonly prescribed BNF name for our data. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to split our data into groups corresponding to the different values of BNF name. And if we just scroll up to, well, actually, let's not scroll up. Let's look at scripts just to get a better idea. So we're interested in BNF name and number of items. So those are the two parts of the dictionary we're interested in. But the first thing we want to do is we want to create a dictionary. We want to create a dictionary where the BNF name is the key. So we want to create a dictionary, or rather, the first thing we want to do is we want to get all of the BNF names. So how can we get all the BNF names from these records here, from these little dictionaries? Catherine has put in some excellent code, and I'm going to copy and paste it in here, and let's go over it. So what Catherine has done, and thank you, Catherine, for sharing your answer, is they take the scripts list and they go through and they get every BNF name for every library. They look up the BNF name, and then they store that in a list, and then they do a set. They create a set out of that list. So this is the best way to do it. And there's no need to use any sorts of like regular expressions here because we have at least semi-structured data. This data is structured. And so let's see if this works. We'll try it this way. And indeed, it does work. It gets through the assert statement. One little tweak, and this is really a more question of style than of functionality, is that instead of wrapping a list comprehension inside of wrapping a list comprehension in a set, we can also just put these little set markers and make this a set comprehension. So this will do the set for us just by putting these little curly braces on either side. And we end up with the same thing. So Catherine, thank you so much for sharing your, I'm just going to look it up, BNF names. I don't think this will work. Yeah, set is not scriptable. But if I look at it, I can see everything I have. So I've done a great job thanks to Catherine and her help. And now that I have a set with all the unique BNF names, yes, Andrea, thank you for that quick tweak. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a dictionary called groups. And BNF names are going to be the key, and then each value will start with a list, an empty list. So I'm going to split this. I'm going to split this cell, and I'm going to run just this first cell. And in this first cell, I have curly braces here. What kind of expression is this? What's happening in this expression? Henry says it's an empty dictionary. Is this an empty dictionary? Uday says it's a dictionary comprehension. Exactly. And Andrea's grabbing on saying, yes, we're creating a dictionary with the name as the key. And then for each value, we have an empty list. So for example, if I look at BNF, actually, if I look at just one particular drug, for example, I'll try colmaldrox, whatever this one is, and I look at it in groups, it'll return an empty list. So you guys are right. We have a dictionary comprehension. And now that we have a dictionary comprehension, and Pedro Ivan said we can also use a default dictionary. Absolutely. That's another way to do it. What I need to do is now I have this for loop, and I want to create all of the I want to append all of these dictionaries to the correct key in my groups dictionary. And so how am I going to do that? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow what Saud has put in the chat window, and I'm going to just do it step by step. The first thing is I'm going to start with my scripts, my script. Actually, did I name it as script or scripts? I can't remember. Oh, I'll start with script for script in scripts. So the first thing is I'll look up the BNF name. And then the next thing that I'll do is once I have the BNF name, I'll look up the corresponding list in the group dictionary. And then I'm going to append, once I have that empty list, I'm going to append the script to it. So what I'll do is for each of those little dictionaries that signifies one prescription, I'll find in my group dictionary, I'm sorry, this is groups. I'll find in my groups dictionary the corresponding key for that drug name, and then I'll append that little prescription dictionary to it. So I'll hit enter. Oh, and I had a problem here where it shouldn't be BNF names, it should be BNF name. There we go, it's all set. And then what I'll do is I'm going to open up a new cell just to see how it's working. And I'll do groups, and I'll look at one of the drugs we saw before, the one I just checked, the Magaldrox. And I want to see what comes out of it. Okay, so I see here that I get a list back, and it's all the prescriptions for Cole Maldrox. Beautiful. So I have exactly what I want. Okay. So any questions up to this point? So Tatanka has asked me if I can summarize the steps. I think that's a great idea. So I'm going to scroll up here, and the first thing I'm doing is I'm creating a set. So I'm going to go through all of the scripts. The scripts list is full of little dictionaries that have the information for one prescription. And what I do is I will go through each of those little dictionaries that's in the scripts list, and I will pull out just the BNF name. For example, here's one BNF name. And then what I do is I create a set here so that I have no repeat names. So I have each drug name only one time. And I save that set as BNF names. And just here as a check, I know there are 5,619, and I'm good to go. From there, I create a dictionary called groups, and I use a dictionary comprehension. And what I do is I take each of the unique names that's in BNF names, the set of drug names that I wanted, and I will create a dictionary where the keys will be the drug names, and then each value starts as an empty list. So after this line of code, I have a dictionary where I have all of the BNF names as keys, all of the drug names as keys, and then the values for each of those keys is an empty list. And then I have a for loop. And what the for loop does is it goes back to this scripts list and it looks at each dictionary one by one and it sees what the drug is that's being prescribed. And then it finds the corresponding key for that drug in the groups dictionary and then adds it to what was originally an empty list. So in the end, what I have is a groups dictionary, and that groups dictionary for each drug, it has a list of all the times that drug was prescribed. So what I'll do next is I need to find the drug that has been most prescribed. So how do I find the drug that was most prescribed? What are some strategies that we can think of? We have everything in a dictionary, so that's good. So Saud says we should check the key items in scripts for each drug and then sum all the values of the items. I like that idea. Let's think about how we're going to implement it in code. And I think Saud is giving us a little bit of a he's giving us a little bit of a clue. If I were to look at groups.items, and let's just say I want to look at, let's see what happens when I do group.items. Excuse me, this should be groups. Oh, wait, I'm missing a parentheses. So, for example, let's remember one thing. Let's go to the whiteboard. And let's remember that when we have a dictionary, this is a bad curly brace. Let me draw a better one. We have the name of the drug, and then there's a colon in it. And then we have a list, and that list has a bunch of dictionaries in it, all with the drug information for when it was prescribed one particular time. So that's a regular dictionary. And what I can do is if I look at groups.items, if I use the items method, I'm going to get something a little bit different, a different data structure. I'm going to get a tuple where I'll have the drug name as one of them, and then there'll be a comma, and then that same list that we saw before will also be here. So it's a list of dictionaries. And now I have a tuple. And so what I then need to do is I'm going to need to do some sort of summing up here. And that's where things get interesting. So if I have group.items, I'm definitely going to have the drug name, and then I'm going to have the actual group for group top items. So we're going to unpack it first. You guys are absolutely right. So here I'm going to have the name, and for group, it's going to be a list. All right, excellent. So now, what do I need to do with the group? Let's start with just the group. What do I need to do with the group? For each group, for example, for this one group here. Oh, hold on, sorry guys. I'm sorry, I was hiding my window. Excuse me. So I have my group.items, and I have my group, and I have my name. And what I need to do first is I need to sum the items for a given group. All right, so let me think about this for a second. So let's do something here. I'm going to open up a new cell. Don't worry about the error here. And I'm just going to go groups dot items. I'll put this as a list. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this as my there we go. So I'm just going to unpack this just so we have an example to work from. And I'll call this name and group equal this list. And that way, if I look at name, I have the name. And here, if I look at group, I have the group. So we can do a little bit of work. So the first thing that I need to do is, you guys are right, I need to sum up all of the items here. And I see Hollister saying what we should maybe do is just get a count. Remember that items is not always one. So we actually need to look at the items value. I love all these answers you guys are putting into the chat. So I'll call each one of these a member. So I'll go for member in group. And I'll say member items for member in group. And I can put this as a list comprehension like you guys said. And then I need to sum it up. So I'll do my sum like that. Okay, I like this. And this is exactly what Andrea did. I say Calvince has joined us. Welcome. So much fun to work through these problems with you guys. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'll take this here and I will put it up here in my list comprehension, which we had created before. And let's see what we have so far. I'm going to just put this all in one list comprehension. And let's just see what it looks like if I try to run this. Oh, I have invalid syntax. Hold on. Let me think about this. For name, group. Oh, this is getting a little bit confusing here. Ah, you're right. Thank you, guys. There we go. So now I have all these numbers. I have all these numbers, but what's missing? So we're missing the name. Okay. Well, let's think about how we're going to add the name. Let's use a tuple. Let's use a tuple, and here I'm just going to put the name. And so now I have a bunch of tuples. I have a list of tuples. And now what do I do? So you guys have the idea of sorting it. And Saud has the idea of getting the max. So let's see what happens if I look at, I need to get the max here. So maybe I could just wrap this whole thing and try it like this. And I see someone's making a really good point, which is this is in the wrong order. The name should be first. How can I make it? Well, if I want it to be one way to do this, if you wanted to reverse something, in Python and you have an iterable like a tuple, you can do colon colon -1, and that reverses it for you. And then if I look at, if I just delete these two cells here, I have everything except I need to put it inside another list. So maybe what I can do is just take this and, whoops, wrap it in another list. Let's see if that'll work. Okay. And from there, let's just save this as max item. And let's see if we can get it through into our grader. It says it's too long. Interesting. Too long. What does that mean? I think we're messing something up. Oh, I see, I see. You guys are right. I messed up the, yes, you guys are right. Excuse me. I have this, and I want to put it inside a list. Yes, you guys are right. You guys are absolutely right. Yeah. What if I just took this here and just put like a list? What if I just did this? Okay. And then I'll call this max item. And if I look at max item, okay, there we go. You guys are right. Okay. And now you guys are right, because here it said this is too long because it was a list that had 2 items. But I actually want a list that has 1 item, a tuple, and inside that tuple is what we're interested in looking at. Let's see here. And now I'm going to run it through the grader and we'll see what I get. My score is 0. Something is wrong here. Andrea says the value looks too great. And the question is why? Why is that? Well, let's reevaluate our code a little bit. Let's break it down a little bit and see what we have. I'm starting with, I'm going to actually create a new cell. And I'm just going to copy and paste what I had originally into this cell. And let's start again from the beginning. I wonder if I put this as a list, will that change anything? No. Okay. So starting from the beginning, I know I have my group.items, and I know I have my name and group. And then from there, so one of you wanted to know, how do you troubleshoot Jupyter code? This is an example of of troubleshooting. So the next thing that I'm going to do is, I know that I'm going to have my group total and the name. And I know that in order to get the group title, I need to have another list comprehension, or rather I need to have a sum. I need to sum the member items for member in group. And I know that I need to take the max and I'll take the max of this whole thing. Whoops, hold on. I'm missing something. Oh, since this is a tuple, I need two of these. There we go. Why do I have 3, 4, 1, 4? That's too big. So Saud has the idea of restarting the kernel. I like that idea. Let's do it. So I'll restart and clear on my output. Let's go cell run all above. Thanks, guys, for troubleshooting this with me. I appreciate it. All right, and then we'll try again. There we go. This is the number we're looking for. So it looks like maybe there was just some problem with maybe another cell in there that I had run. So if I look at max item, now I have the correct value. So the code itself was correct, but for some reason I had cruft or garbage in my code that was messing me up. So that's a really good way to troubleshoot, and it comes from Saud. Just redo it. Shut down your kernel and try again. So let's try it one more time. There we go, and now we got it. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Saud, for that for that help. Apurva's going, what is this magic? It's absolutely magic. It's like whenever you call tech support, did you turn it off and turn it on again? Okay, so I know we have about 10 minutes left, and so I want to make sure that I address the question for those people who have messed up the grader somehow. Maybe you accidentally deleted this cell, or you deleted this part. let's talk about how you would deal with that. So I'm going to go back to data course, and I'm going to let's give ourselves an example. So let's say that I was doing data wrangling and I was doing the PW mini project, but I messed it up and all of a sudden I needed a new PW mini project. So how would I do that? Well, the first thing is I know that the PW mini project is in the data wrangling folder in data course. So if I go to data course, I know there is data course, data wrangling, and Python. And so I'm interested in replacing data wrangling. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in new terminal. So I'll open up a new terminal. And I know someone was asking about Linux the other day in class. So let's do a little bit of Linux. So the first thing I'll do is I'll do pwd to see which directory I'm in, present working directory. And I'll see that I'm in Jovian. And from there, I'll do ls, and I'll see here's the folder that I want to be in, data course. So I'm going to do cd change directory data course. So that's the first thing you do. And then I'm going to type in ls for list again. And I can see that there is a shell file here called update modules. And if I go to the data course file picker, I can also see it right here. And what the update modules will do is it will give you a new clean version. Where am I? A new clean version of your folder that you're interested in. So what I then will do is type in period slash and then update modules and then the name of the folder that I want to replace. Not replace, but get a fresh version of. And so I'll type in data wrangling, and then a bunch of stuff will appear on my screen. And from there, I can close that screen and I can go back to my file picker and I can see that there's a new folder here created just seconds ago called datawrangling.new. And if I click on datawrangling.new in mini projects, I have a fresh copy of the PW mini project ready to go. And so Vivek is asking, do you have to update the entire folder? Yes, you have to update the entire folder. And there you go. That's the way to do it. And the other thing I always suggest that people do before they start a mini project is just click on it and then click on duplicate. Duplicate. And that will give you a fresh copy in case you mess something up. And by the way, you can have as many copies of these mini projects as you want, and you can submit different questions from different notebooks. It doesn't matter. Everything will go to one grader, and it will always store whatever the highest score you got for that question is. So nothing will affect your previous scores. We always save your highest score no matter which notebook it comes from. Now, Latif is asking me if I can make the office hours downloadable for you. Is that something that you guys would be interested in? I'm curious. How many of you would like to download the office hours? Because these would be big files. Okay, I see some people are already saying yes. So I will, let me think about the best way to do that, and I'll put that into place. Okay? So that'll get taken care of at least by the end of the week. Okay, it seems like there's a lot of support for this. So definitely. I will definitely do it. I might have to start late, I might have to start from this office hour, from office hour 13 uh, onward. And also, some people are coming up with tips for downloading it on YouTube. That is true. So we'll figure it out. We'll make it happen. Excellent. Well, we have about 3 minutes left for office hours, so there's not a lot that we can get done. We've already talked about the PW mini project. Whoops, that's the highlighter, not the pen. We've talked about the TW, BW, PW mini project. We've talked about the debugging, and we've talked about erasing the grader. And NumPy and matplotlib are kind of big topics. So I don't think we'll have enough time for those today. But I do see Catherine asking a question as to whether these videos will remain on YouTube forever, or is there a limited amount of time? Well, I can't guarantee that they'll be there forever, but I can guarantee that I certainly won't take them down. You should, as long as YouTube exists, as long as WorldQuant and the data incubator exist, we will be able to, you'll be able to access the videos on YouTube. And Apurva has a great question, which is they say that they're not able to solve the mini projects without re-looking at office hours. Is there some way they can develop their problem-solving skills? Well, first of all, looking at office hours is not necessarily a bad thing, right? The first stages in learning are not being able to write code from memory, but rather being able to look at complicated code, regardless of from where you get it from, understand how it works, and then apply it in a certain context. So I don't see any problem with that. If you're interested in sharpening your coding skills, one site that I always recommend to people is called HackerRank, where there are all sorts of um, different problems that you can solve. And you can sign up for an account. It takes a little bit time to get used to it, but it's a good way to kind of improve your skills and then also create a public profile for yourself about being a good programmer. So that's what I would recommend. But don't worry about having to look at office hours. If this is the first course of this type that you're taking, I think it makes a lot of sense to use the office hours to help you complete the mini projects. Okay. Well, it looks like we've come to the end of office hours. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. I was glad to hear you all had a good weekend. For everyone in Kenya, happy Heroes Day. For everyone else, happy Monday. I hope you have a good start to your week, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all tomorrow. And until then, take much care and happy data science. Bye bye, everyone. Bye bye.